Edition of Jarhead TV, so to speak. My name is Dan Shaw. I'm here representing the Thunder Mountain Detachment number 1283 of the Marine Corps League here in Sierra Vista, Arizona. And with me today is a guest that I'd love to have you listen to. This is Blanca Lechner. She's the wife of a former Marine. And Blanca, welcome to the Warrior Healing Center number one.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
And number two, welcome to our live stream studio. I believe you have some very valuable information I'd love for you to pass on to veterans and their families as well. And please take it away.
Yes. My reason for being here is we found out through just a casual acquaintance about what had happened in El Toro. And at that time,
that's the Marine Corps Air Station in California?
Marine, right. And at the time, it didn't hit a note. We just thought, okay, because we had seen kind of this happening while he was stationed there.
Your husband?
My husband, right. And just recently, this year in January, we found out that he had what is called bile duct cancer. And we're racking our brains trying to figure out, why, where's this cancer from? We did a genetic test, and it's not genetic.
Right.
So as we went along and we researched, there's issues with the base. The contamination was extensive, and it was concealed, flat out.
By the Marine Corps?
By the Marine Corps, by the government, because obviously the base has been under the command of both Democrats and Republicans.
Mm-hmm.
So that tells me that neither side really cares about their troops. Our troops, they give everything, including their families, for this country. And to find out that they're being contaminated just like Camp Lejeune is devastating. My concern is that there are many other people like us, families with children, grandchildren, that have no idea about this contamination. We were there from approximately 83 through 84, and the first warning sign that we should have seen was housing. We went several weeks cleaning the house after we moved out, only to find out that they were closing housing down. At that time, though, nobody knew why. They thought that maybe the homes were going to be remodeled. So we never thought anything about it.
Yeah, you never questioned it?
Never questioned it.
Right.
And even after Camp Lejeune, what happened here was we had an item for sale, and another fellow Marine came over and bought it and started talking to my husband, as Marines do, And then he goes, oh, by the way, have you filed anything with the VA? And my husband is going like, well, I have injuries, have filed that. And he goes, no, regarding the contamination. And that's how we found out.
What kind of contamination are we talking about, and from what source?
Well, there are several. The water was the main one.
Primary?
And apparently this became because they were just burying tank fuels. They were discharging fuel from the planes that was running, and they weren't taking care of it. I mean, a host of many things that if you really want to pursue this, Google it,
right,
find out, and you're going to find out just how extensive this is and how serious it can be for the families. It makes me wonder, after we got out, I was diagnosed with Hurso cell cancer, which is radiation cancer.
Okay.
And at that time, I was given a prognosis of 5% survival.
Wow.
Never did I think, oh, this is from El Toro,
right,
being stationed there.
Yeah, where the hell do you get radiation cancer, and where do you get, you weren't working at Chernobyl in Russia.
No.
Where did they hypothesize that you got exposed to
They couldn't
radiation?
figure it out. I had a tumor that was the size of a grapefruit.
Oh, my God.
And it was in my neck. The doctors were amazed because I was very fortunate. The cancer adhered itself to the tumor.
Oh, okay.
So it didn't spread. It didn't metastasize.
Right.
So that was the first sign. Then in my family, we've had miscarriages. We've had cancer. My mom passed away from liver cancer. She used to spend weeks over there with us.
Oh, okay.
My dad passed away from problems with his lungs. They said spots in the lungs. My adopted grandmother, that was always there with us constantly, passed away from bone cancer.
Mm.
So now I'm thinking, like, can this all be related? Of course, I can't take time back and
Of
prove,
course. Right.
the correlation between that, but it does leave a lot, to
Right.
think about. What I do know presently in my family, I've had a miscarriage, my daughter had a miscarriage, my children suffer from mental issues, depressions, I mean, asthma, heart problems, you name it, a host of things. And so now the problem is, from what I have read, not only are we worried about our children, but the
And the
grandchildren.
grandchildren. How
This,
far does it go?
yeah, and how far does it go? When will it stop?
Yeah.
And so, my being here is just that if one person listens and sees the podcast,
Right.
they will get informed. They will stay on top of your health. If you're
Correct.
feeling something, for Rick, unfortunately, it was jaundice that finally, detected the cancer.
Right.
For me, it was a big lump on my neck that I thought
Right.
I'm just getting old.
Yeah.
So
But not the size of a grapefruit.
no,
Old age
no
doesn't bring that on. And connected to radiation.
radiation.
That is
Yeah.
insane.
And at that time, I kept wondering. I mean, I know I worked investigations, but I wasn't in a place, long enough to be contaminated the way I
Yeah.
was.
And you'd have to be, like I said, you'd have to be either a full-time employee. I would think that the nearest one to El Toro would be the nuclear power plant down in San Onofre.
San Onofre, which, yeah, I did go over there on one occasion.
But yeah, but not enough for
not enough
that.
to, my cancer, I carried it for almost 2 years before I finally, knew what was going on.
Saw
and
the symptoms.
did
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So that's the same thing with my husband. He's carried the cancer. He had cysts that were growing, and we were just lucky that they got it. But he's still in the fight for his life.
Right.
And I just wonder, like I told you, I joined the groups for Whipple Warriors, and there's more and more people coming down with this type of cancer. I mean,
same kind as yours?
Yeah, as my husband.
Oh, okay.
And, yeah. Well, there are others. I joined my husband's group because
And what's that group called again?
Whipple.
Whipple, is it like WHIPP?
Whipple Warriors.
Okay.
Yeah.
I got the T-shirt for it.
And
okay.
what they do is they inform you, because basically the surgery is drastic.
I bet.
They take half of your innards out.
Ugh.
And your life will forever change.
Yeah.
But, it's sad because now it makes me wonder, how many people were in the service.
Correct.
Their families. I think the youngest one with this type of cancer is a little boy that is now 12.
Yeah.
So if it can happen to us, it can happen to you.
Yeah.
Especially if you were there, Camp Lejeune, and from my research, apparently there's like maybe 9 other bases. That include Navy and Air Force.
And that's just the tip of the iceberg. That's
Yes.
the one getting all the media attention.
Right.
And the commercials we see every day right now here in August 2022. I can't turn on the TV without seeing Camp Lejeune. That's why I was shocked when you told me that that's the East Coast.
Yeah.
El Toro Marine Corps Air Station that I know very well from being a Marine reservist out of Los Angeles. That was the nearest Marine Corps base for me.
Yeah.
Was to go use the PX.
Right. And to think, that it's so extensive. I mean, the government knew.
Of course.
They should have shut this down, or they should have tried to warn the troops and their families.
Right.
So that they could do something about it, the contamination. I mean, I don't know that there is any safeguard against radiation.
Yeah.
But at least give us a heads up.
You deserve at least the common decency to be told that.
Right.
Or at least be advised of the risk.
Our troops,
I mean, this isn't Russia. I come back to Chernobyl again.
Right.
Because in a communist authoritarian political system there, the people don't expect to be told.
Right. They just, And
after Chernobyl, the Americans expect to be told.
We need to be told.
That's right.
We need to be told. Our troops.
And demand it. We demand to be told.
They give everything for our country.
Of course.
Everything. And their families, because the families sacrifice along with their, So.
But this is the demand, or this is a sacrifice that's preventable.
Right.
And it's criminal not to tell them.
It is. The fact that they're taking the fuel out of the tanks and putting it in barrels
Yeah.
and burying it. In what mind do they
Right.
think this is a safe procedure?
Right.
You know?
Well, being a former resident of Burbank, California, I can tell you the same thing happened with the civilian corporation Lockheed.
Yeah.
Because they were building planes
Mm-hmm.
and testing them and all that out there, and way back in the 1970s, and of course last century,
Mm-hmm.
several school mates of mine uh, got money from Lockheed
Mm-hmm.
because their homes were near parts of Lockheed property that did experience water
Right.
contamination. Same
Well, see,
thing.
and that tells you just how serious this can
Yeah,
be. You know,
and
this is
widespread.
a deadly issue.
Right.
And the other thing that I was like flabbergasted is, okay, why is the government, if I read one of the attorneys, I think that the government allocated $360 million,
Wow.
which, compensates the troops and their families.
Right.
But do they really compensate it? I
Right.
mean, you're talking about loss of life, you're talking
Yeah.
about a lot of mental
Can you
issues,
really
health
put a
issues.
dollar amount on
Right,
that? And for subsequent generations,
right.
the grandkids and
The
great
grandkids
grandkids,
and the great
how far
grandkids.
does it go?
Right. Because once it's in your body, you transmit it. That's the same thing like
Yeah.
what we're seeing with Agent Orange.
Yeah.
Look at the generations that they're
Correct.
having issues with it. I just think that the fact that the government allocated this amount of money tells me also that they knew.
Oh yeah.
They were aware of the problem. It's like putting a band-aid on a
Yeah.
big wound,
Right.
and hope that everybody's going to be pacified and
Right.
say, okay, we're taking care of you. But they're not. Trust me,
Yeah.
it's very difficult to live through some of the issues that are coming from this contamination.
Are you involved in a lawsuit now or part of a lawsuit?
I am going to be involved. I don't want to join a class action because that generalizes.
I understand. Yeah, and
Minimizes the situation. I
Right.
mean, in my line of work, we always cracked up because we called attorneys ambulance
Of
chasers.
course, yes.
Class
Yes.
action suit, that tells
Yeah.
me, the attorneys get the biggest
Of
portion,
course, of course.
and the families just.
Get the
I
crumbs.
want to make a point, to say this is wrong.
Right.
This should not have happened.
Right.
And if our troops are willing to give their lives for this country, then this country, the least they can do is take care of their troops.
Right. I get you.
You know.
Well, I just did a quick Google search on the subject of water contamination from Marine Corps Air Station in El Toro, and up popped an article in the Los Angeles Times newspaper about a Marine that was stationed out there in 1952, 1953.
Yes.
And he ended up, in subsequent years, developed cancer that was traced back to that water contamination. So that's a time frame that we're talking about as a source.
Right.
And then another search revealed that the Environmental Protection Agency, their organization, Superfund, listed Marine Corps Air Station El Toro as a Superfund site in 1990.
Right.
It was officially designated that. For those of you that don't know, Marine Corps Air Station or El Toro, MCAS El Toro, was closed down in 1999.
1999.
Right.
Right.
And to my knowledge, every time I've passed through there since then, it's high-end housing, a housing development.
That is the other aggravating fact that my research has also led me to believe that the property was sold to a contractor, a federal contractor that built homes for the government housing. And from what the article said, penny to the dollar.
Of
I
course.
mean, that's such an insult.
Yeah.
To me, that place should all be just shut down. I mean, they're going to sell to generations that have no clue
Right.
about what is going on. I mean, they were even talking about they're building a park.
Yeah, I've seen
with
them
the
there.
housing, and to me, it's beyond imaginable. How can they do that? How can they get away with it? I'll tell you why. They get away with it because we don't get involved.
Correct.
I think that if more of us stood up and said, okay, this is it.
And demand answers.
Yes.
To legitimate questions.
Find out.
For those of you that don't know Southern California, the area that was called Marine Corps Air Station El Toro was part of a town or a suburb in Orange County, California, called El Toro.
Mm-hmm.
Now, since then, it's been changed like they always do in Southern California.
Right.
It's no longer called El Toro, but Lake Forest. So if you're driving along I-5 highway, either north or south, and are trying to pinpoint where this area is at, look for any signs that say Lake Forest.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, we're talking about a suburb that's north of Mission Viejo and south of Disneyland, Buena Park,
in a
Knott's Berry
high-end,
Farm, right?
pricey area
Yeah.
where the homes range in.
Oh, they're well over $1 million,
Right.
and probably getting closer to $2 million now.
Right.
And it's always been, even back in '80s when I used to go there,
Mm-hmm.
they were high-end homes.
High-end homes.
Yeah.
Very high-end homes, and the contractor stands to make a really good profit out of this sale.
Of course.
That also to me is just ludicrous, that this can be happening at this time.
Right.
And I mean, people are not being informed. They're going to buy. I mean, it's just, human nature. But I think that if they knew and they were aware of the risk that they're putting themselves and their families, it may be a different situation. A lot of it also is on us that we have to be informed.
Right.
We have to know. Just like this was a
right.
secret.
And today our challenge to you Marines and dependents and also Navy personnel that were stationed at MCAS El Toro from 1953 to 1999 or thereabouts. If you spent any time there, don't wait for the lawyer commercials to come out on the TV.
Yeah.
Because by then it could be too late.
Right.
If you were stationed at that particular facility during that time, and check your family history, see what kind of dependents you have and descendants that you have that have cancer, or I would say the ideal yardstick to use is go look at the diseases that are in the Camp Lejeune lawsuit commercials.
That's a very good suggestion.
And then see if those same illnesses are affecting your family from your service or their service at MCAS El Toro. Then there's a link right there, and you know that it's only a matter of time before you start seeing those results.
There's a host of issues. If you Google it, you will find them. I mean, there were things that to me, I was like, what? Birth defect. That you never think about that. Conjoined twins. There's a host of things that have come as a consequence of this. If you Google it, you will find them.
I predict too that later on this year, certainly in the next year, now that we had Camp Lejeune, now we've got MCAS El Toro.
Right.
What's next? MCAS Yuma?
Yeah.
Down here in Arizona where we live.
Well, one of the things I Googled, there were issues also with the island.
Yeah.
Which is Navy,
Yeah.
So for you other branches, that if you think it's just the Marines going through this, I got news for you.
Yeah, I would challenge too my Air Force brothers and sisters.
Yes.
Start looking at Vandenberg Air Force Base. If you live in San Bernardino, think about Norton Air Force Base, which is long since closed. There are a whole host of Air Force bases up and down the coast of California. Most of them are closed, but they were established and had military personnel, and more importantly, had military personnel from all branches of the service, especially Travis Air Force Base, flying in and out all the time.
Yep.
So there's a potential there, and I really can't believe that the Air Force did any better job than the Marines in containing toxic chemicals. The one that we saw on a quick Google search is trichloroethylene. That appears to be a solvent that was used to remove grease from metal objects.
Right.
And that's a very toxic
Very
carcinogen.
toxic, yes.
And that appears to be the number one carcinogen that's being identified in these lawsuits. So if you were in aircraft maintenance in any branch of the service,
right,
and you knew and you use TCE as they now call it, during your time, get yourself tested.
Yes, definitely.
That's the
warning signs are there.
yeah.
You just have to be more aware of, like I did when my parents came down with their ailments. I researched, our family history. I had some of my cousins that are really into ancestry.
Mm.
Couldn't figure out,
Yeah.
where is this cancer coming from? My mom's cancer.
So you didn't see it in other relatives
Yeah.
that were never at El Toro.
At El Toro.
Oh.
So
that's
now,
the common link.
Yeah, and I'm thinking like I researched, and if my dad has spots in the lung, why were they there? He quit smoking 25 years prior to his death. Never had issues,
Right.
And that's just like my husband. Never had really issues like that. Always
Right.
healthy, motivated, doing things. I mean, geez, my dad was used for a study at UCSD in San Diego.
Really?
Yeah, he was so healthy, and
right.
He was 70 at that time, and he looked like he was in his 50s.
Wow.
So
took good care of himself.
Yeah, he always did really well. And then all of a sudden one day, he's like emphysema, he's coughing. I rush him to the hospital, and they say he's not going to make it.
Oh my God.
So now that I'm thinking, all of this, it just boggles the mind to think, wow, they were always with us over there at El Toro Marine Base. They spend a lot of time. My grandmother spent a lot of time, and here's the consequences.
Yeah, that's horrible. Hey, okay. Anything you wish to add to?
No, I thank you for the opportunity to be here.
Thank you very much for bringing this to our attention. Once again, one of our here at the Warrior Healing Center, and our purpose and mission, of course, is to serve veterans in the best way we can.
Yes.
And this particular interview, I think, educates a lot of Marines and Navy personnel too, and hopefully, like I said, other branches such as Army and Air Force personnel that were stationed on military installations where TCE was readily available and used frequently.
And I'm sure you know that other branches had to, at one time or another, cross through El Toro because it was such an important base.
Correct.
The fact that they wanted Pacific Fleet there.
Right.
And they did so much.
Right.
So it wasn't just the Marines that were stationed there. Whoever went through there or civilian, we had civilians that worked there. I mean, be aware, do your research, save yourself and your family.
Right. Very good. Okay. Well, once again, Blanca, thank you for your time, and thank you for bringing this to our attention. And I'm Dan Shaw, and that's all we have today. Please join us on another episode of Jarhead TV, where I'll have something entertaining and informative to share with you. Bye now. Okay, that's it. Thanks so much, Blanca.
Yeah, it was good being here.
Yeah, now what's going to happen with this is later on today, probably like within a half an hour, 45 minutes, this will be up on YouTube.
Okay.
I'll call you up, give you the, do you get texts?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll text you the link for this.
Okay.
Share it with anybody and everybody you want.
Definitely will.
If you want to give it to a potential lawyer or whatever, by all means, go right ahead. We have no copyright on this. I have no intention of copyrighting it. My intent is, like I said, is to educate veterans and their families.
That's why I told my husband, because he goes,
there you go.
Oh, you're doing so much, because sometimes, he gets the pain,
and I
stay with him.
He's got to be so proud of you.
Well, he goes, Are you sure? And I said, I need to do this. I said, me, like, he took me one time. We went to the Marine Corps ball dance.
Yeah.
And there was
we got one coming up too. You're invited.
Really?
It'll be November 12th. And it's at the Pueblo del Sol Country Club.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I would love to.
Okay, I'll put you on our list and all that.
Take Rick. I mean, and
bring him.
That's why I told him. I said, now you know what you're getting into. I am vociferous. I mean, you can't shut me.
Yeah.
So,
I'm sure he's learned that a long time ago.
So he goes, well, I guess that means you're going to do it. And I said, because if we can reach just one person, we save one life. Yeah. And I wish that they would have done that for you and me, then we wouldn't be here. Maybe.
And by all means, please give this to Whipple.
Yeah.
Is it WhippleWarriors.com?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't put that in the interview, but I could put it in the comments.
Yeah.
On the YouTube thing.
I'm going to, I'm going to ask them, I'll go through their admin.
Right.
They've been pretty good about, anything that is helpful because there's so much pain and suffering.
Of course.
And I'm
But
really curious.
they could definitely use this
Yeah,
video to whatever. I
I'm
have no limitations, whatever.
really, really curious. Like why so many? There have a
Yeah,
lot of them are in our age group, but a lot of them aren't.
right.
There's like younger people. And I told Rick, I said, how many of those person were in the service or
Mm-hmm.
related to somebody in the service? And it's sad, like I told him every day I read somebody new. Like this morning, there was a lady that they told her they couldn't do the surgery. Her cancer had metastasized, and she goes, I don't know what to do. I'm scared. I want to cry. I want to scream.
Yeah,
And we went through that with Rick, and I
right.
told him, the only thing is that we just believe a lot of, faith,
Yeah,
that
that's all
you
you
just
can
have
do.
to be strong.
Now, tell me
So
about the Whipple Warriors and how did they come about?
the they were founded because of the fact that it was such a rare cancer. And
Mm.
so one person got it and then started thinking, well, wait a minute, if I have it,
Yeah,
the
I can't
people
be
in
the
the
only one.
admin were people that went through them.
Mm.
And so what they do now, like in one group, for example, I think there's like maybe 4,000 already with cancer.
Okay,
And so what they do is they share, what they go through
right,
and their pain and suffering. None of them have ever shared though, if it's what's a genetic, were you tested for
right,
genetic, and were you in the military? And that's what I
right.
want to do.
Oh,
I
okay.
want to ask them if it's okay to inquire, like,
Yeah, and
where
make
did
this
you
a
get it?
part of it.
Yeah,
Okay. Now, do they have different chapters throughout the country,
the group just
or
the
is it
for
just here in Arizona
no, it's this
or
group
in
is big.
California?
I mean,
Is it?
there's actually people, which we do have bases, in other countries too. There's actually
Right.
people in Europe that
Wow.
we get people from Australia, people from India,
Oh, okay.
and so I mean, it just makes you wonder,
Right,
like
right.
why is it so prevalent if it was
And the
something
common
that
denominator is the same kind of cancer your
the
husband
same
has?
kind of cancer?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the
So
same
it's
kind.
based just on that
There's
disease?
this one is based on that because of the surgery, being so
Oh,
drastic.
gotcha.
But there are other cancers, that people have joined, like the liver cancer, that they
Mm-hmm.
want to find out where it's coming from. And as I have researched, a lot of the different cancers do come from this.
Of course.
That's what
Yeah,
sets
that's
them
why
all
the
the denominator,
Camp
like you said.
Lejeune
Yeah,
commercial has got like, I don't know, 10 or 15 damn cancers listed
yeah.
there. Yeah,
They have a host of them, and I
it's
mean,
a lot.
there was one guy that I really got interested in from Salem, Oregon, that